I'm ready. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. You are watching KUHS The Stream. And this is the Weekend Boost, and I'm your host, Paul Lane, the author of The Caregiver's Handbook, a self-help love story. And as you know, every week when I come onto the show, those of you who watch the show know that I am a big supporter of CALMA, Colorado Alliance for Latino Mentors and Authors. And the anthology came out last December, and it is going fast. They're $20 a copy. Please reach out to me, reach out to us at the station. We'd love to get a copy of this book in your hands. It's a great collection of short stories, essays, and poetry, mostly done by local artists, and it's a great read. It's a great thing to sit down by the fire or sit down at night, read this to your spouse or to yourself, and get some good entertainment. As you know, I always like to recommend books, and so those two books that I recommend, but the one that you notice I've been talking about for the last 3 months is On Tyranny. Timothy Snyder wrote this book, and believe it or not, the man who wrote this book on tyranny left the country for his own protection. On Tyranny. You know what we're seeing? We're seeing a lot of people capitulating. They're laying down. They're giving up. They're not resisting. They're just saying, okay, take our benefits. Take us. We'll give you $1 million, $100 million lawsuits. We'll pay for your legal fees. I mean, they're doing such ridiculous, weak things. I'm so sick of it. On Tyranny. We are in tyranny right now, people. On Tyranny. I want to share another book that's changed my life. I got this book way back in 1997. This is one of the most powerful, most efficient, wonderful self-help books I have ever read. Brian Tracy wrote the book Maximum Achievement. I've read many of Brian's books, but this is one book that was way more impactful to me. If you look through, you'll see that I highlighted about every single page because it's so powerful. It talks about all of the laws of the universe, and one of them is the law of attraction and how you can make the law of attraction work for you in a powerful way. I think this is really relevant to what we're going to be talking about today, just because Ralph Pullman has been a guest on my show before, and he has an upcoming book. I'm sorry, remind me of the title of your book.
Economic Fire.
Economic Fire. I'm telling you, if you don't know anything about money like me, you know, many of us were not financially literate growing up. I didn't come from a generational wealth, and so my mom didn't know about saving money, or she didn't know about investing. She didn't know about the way money is made or where money comes from or what money really is. But this book is a very enlightening book. And so definitely it's going to be out very soon. But we're going to be talking about longevity and living long. And Ralph Pullman is my guest today. Ralph, thank you for joining us today.
Okay. Yeah, I've been interested in gerontology, old study of old aging, since I was in my 20s. And so I've kind of kept up with that. And so back in 2007, I felt old. I was, it would take me 15 minutes after getting up out of bed to be able to stand fully upright. And I was just aches and pains, and my hearing was going, and so I
Oops, sorry, it's my phone. Please go ahead.
So I was doing research and discovered that there was a company called TA Sciences. They had done some research on some extracts from the astragalus root. The astragalus plant is something grown in China. And they discovered that this extract would activate telomerase. Now, there's at the ends of your chromosomes, there's like aglets. Aglets are the ends of shoelaces. And so these telomeres act like the aglets that keep the DNA from coming unraveled, because it's a coiled molecule. And so but as cells divide, those telomeres, there's chemicals that attach to the telomeres, they stretch out that DNA, and that allows other chemicals to come in and duplicate the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And so when a cell divides, those telomeres attach, stretch it out, and then allow the duplication. And then when they detach, those telomeres at the end of the chromosomes get shorter.
And as we age,
And as we age, well, there's something called the Hayflick limit. Each cell can divide about 50 times when you're young, before those telomeres get so short that they can't attach properly.
mm-hmm.
And so when those telomeres get short and can't attach properly, the cell does one of two things. It either goes senescent or it dies. It kills itself.
Mm.
And these senescent cells, I'll talk more about those later, but senescent cells are cells that go dormant. They still function as a cell, but they won't divide anymore. And cancer stems from these senescent cells attempting to duplicate.
Exactly, and they're basically zombie cells.
They're just they're there.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing functions in the body, but they can no longer divide, and they get weaker and weaker, and if they get, I don't know what would trigger them to try to duplicate eventually, but when they do, they're prone to generating errors.
Right, and so there's a blockchain missing. So where it should match up, it comes together and it doesn't match up.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's simplified, but
yeah, well, as it's trying to duplicate, because it's not attaching correctly to those molecules, it can't stretch out the way it should. And so as it's doing these duplications, it makes errors. And depending on how those errors are structured, if you get something wrong with P3, or there's another cancer-causing gene, if you have errors in those, you're probably going to have a cancerous cell.
mm-hmm.
Now, what this astragalus root extract did is activated telomerase. Now, what telomerase does is when a stem cell, after a cell goes senescent, or there's enough cells that kill themselves, stem cells get activated to generate new daughter cells.
Mm-hmm.
And so the stem cells come out, and they have that same process where they extend the telomeres and duplicate themselves, and they generate a new stem cell plus a new daughter cell.
Okay.
And the daughter cell goes on to keep functioning in the body the way the original cell did, and but because these stem cells don't duplicate themselves as often, they last a lot longer. So you'll have stem cells that keep you going throughout life. As soon as you run out of stem cells, you die.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can no longer replace the cells that go bad.
Right.
And so, but what telomerase does is when those stem cells duplicate, they actually lengthen the telomeres.
And that's what really keeps us young.
Well,
when the telomeres are lengthened, then all those functions that they originally were supposed to do become.
Yeah. You can still you can develop cells that can last longer again. All right. Now, there's several theories of aging. One is this telomerase shortening that causes it, and long-lived species like turtles, they have extremely long telomeres.
Really?
And so when I was first studying this stuff back in 2007, when I first started taking this TA65, I thought, hey, this is the cure for aging. Because within 3 days of taking that stuff, I used to have to turn my whole body when I was driving in order to look around behind me. My neck was just pretty.
Well, you sound like me. I'm just like that.
And within 3 days of starting to take this stuff, my neck is more flexible. I was able to start turning around a whole lot easier and look around. Within 30 days, all those aches and pains, they're gone. I get up out of bed and I'm standing right up right away.
Wow.
So I was convinced this is the cure to aging. and but it's not.
It's one component.
It's one component.
Mm-hmm.
There are four, as far as I know, four different types of things that cause aging. Now, the telomere shortening, that's one.
Mm-hmm.
A second cause is something called methylation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, DNA winds itself around
A helix.
It's a helix, but it winds itself around a histone backbone.
Oh.
There's like a rod going up in the middle of these DNA strands, and it winds itself around this backbone. And as as you age, you're exposed to environmental contaminants,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress. All these things will attach methyl groups to that histone backbone. What happens then is that methylation changes how genes are expressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at old people's blood versus young people's blood, it's different. They've known that for 150 years.
Mm-hmm.
They've known that the proteins that are in the blood are different.
Yes.
They're structurally different. They're different in quantity and in quality. And in fact, they've done experiments for many years, taking old mice and young mice and weaving their blood vessels so that the old blood and the young blood mixes throughout both of the mice.
Wow.
And they found that the old mice get younger and the young mice get older.
Wow. So when they say the life is in the blood, that's a very true statement.
Well, that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know exactly. I'm not real sure, but I think that it's these methylations in the histone backbone that changes the proteins, and so as you get older, your blood components degrade. Yes.
Yes.
And so that's a second source of aging. Now, a third source is mitochondria. When you're first born, you might have 2,500 mitochondria in your cells. Each cell contains like up to 2,500 mitochondria. These are the energy producers of the cells.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're young, man, I watch these kids. They can run all day long and just never seem to tire. I certainly can't do that. But I think that what happens is that the mitochondria start to degrade. They die. They have their own DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you knew that.
No, I did not know that.
But mitochondria, they think that it came from a bacteria that infected cells.
Mm.
But they formed a symbiotic relationship with cells to produce energy. And so now these separate little components, they can divide. You can actually increase your mitochondria with the right supplements and stuff. But there's other things that go on too. The mitochondria might tend to clump together. It makes them less efficient. And so there's various mitochondrial issues that might keep you from a cell from functioning properly.
Okay.
So this is another component of aging. And then the final component of aging is we talked about senescent cells and cells that kill themselves. Well, all these senescent cells and the debris from dead cells, as your body gets older, it gets harder and harder to scavenge the parts. The body scavenges the parts from those cells, reuses them. But as your body ages, it has less of an ability to scavenge those parts. And so the fourth component of aging might be the accumulation of all this dead debris that can't be cleared out of the body.
Oh my goodness. If I may, I've talked about this on the show before. I talk about, health on the show a lot of times. I've always talked about 5 functions of a cell. And what you're saying just makes so much sense to me, because a cell must duplicate, which is the first thing you said. It must communicate.
Yep.
It must travel. It must defend. And it must eliminate waste.
Yep.
And so when a cell cannot do even one of those 5 things, the cell is no longer a functioning cell.
Yeah.
And so we have, consequently, aging.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Am I kind of on track?
Yeah. Yeah. In each one of those functions that you're saying is, if any one of those 4 things that cause the cells to age, it's going to affect its ability to move, its
Yes.
ability to respond, to communicate with other cells, and so yeah, you're right on track there.
Okay, so that makes perfect sense. And so, because of all of the environmental pollutants and the oxidative stress and all of the other things, aging and all of these other factors, we want, well, I know you, and I agree with you. I want to extend my life. But here's what I always say.
Healthy life.
Yes.
Not just extend life. That's
good point.
I do not want to be old and decrepit for 100 years.
Yes. My motto is, I want to die a very young man, as far from today as I possibly can.
Yes.
I've been saying that 40 years, and talking to you today just completely reinforces those words,
Yeah.
Because you're right. I don't want to be 80 years old and not be able to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I don't want to be burdening somebody. I don't want, I want to have my mental faculties. I want to have all of the vibrancy that I had, as a young man.
I feel younger today.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 20 years later, I feel younger today than I did back in 2007.
Wow, that's good. That's great to hear.
But the ravages of age, I'm feeling that it is coming. It's, even though I feel younger than I did back then,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel as young as I did after I started taking that stuff. The telomerase activation does help, but it's not the cure.
It's not the one end all cure all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the most exciting news. There's a guy by the name of David Sinclair, and there's other researchers that are doing the same kinds of things, but I'm most familiar with David Sinclair. He's out of Harvard, and what he has done is he's taken mice, genetically engineered them, so that when he gives them tetracycline,
Mm-hmm.
it activates 3 genes.
Wow.
The 3 genes, they're when a cell, if you take like a skin cell, it's a skin cell. If you wanted to turn that into, say, a liver cell,
Mm-hmm.
you have to convert it back to a more primitive state. They call that pluripotency.
Wow. So that is possible.
They have found that 4 genes will turn a cell pluripotent.
Mm.
And so that means then that they can take that cell and convert it back into a different type of cell. Take a skin cell, turn it pluripotent, and then convert it into a liver cell.
Wow.
But if you activate all 4 genes in a living body,
Mm-hmm.
what happens is you get teratomas, cancers.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll spread throughout the body, and it'll kill the host real quickly. But by activating 3 of those 4 genes, they leave off C-my-C. The gene C-my-C is not activated in Dr. Sinclair's program.
Wow.
And so but activating 3 of those 4 genes, he's demonstrated that they can take the optic nerve of one of these mice, damage it, activate these 3 genes, and it'll repair that damage.
Wow.
There's nothing there's nothing else that they've found that can repair optic nerves.
Wow.
He tried to demonstrate macular degeneration, so they did damage to the eye.
Mm.
This activation would reverse that macular degeneration induced damage.
Wow.
And so what he noticed is that these three genes that are being activated strip the methylation off that DNA backbone, that histone backbone that the DNA is wound around.
Wow.
And so this seems to be a much stronger component than telomerase activation.
Wow.
For reversing aging. So I'm trying to keep up with the kind of research he's doing. What he's working on right now is to try and we don't want to go and change our DNA.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of a drastic measure to take with humans. But what he's trying to come up with is a chemical cocktail that'll do the same thing.
Mm.
You take a chemical cocktail for a while, and it would strip out that methylation out of your DNA, and then you get young again. Now, he assumes, from what I've read, if you wouldn't want to take this on a permanent basis. What you want to do is take it for like 2 weeks, and it'll reverse your aging by about 3 years.
Wow.
And so every couple of years you take this thing that would reduce your age.
Wow.
So you don't go. So you aren't going to go from an 80-year-old down to a 20-year-old with one treatment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It would be something that would take place over time.
Sure, sure. I mean, it's taken us 60, 70 years to get where we are. So we, so many times we want everything right now. We don't understand that delayed gratification that comes with doing a program like this.
Yeah.
So what other things do people do to now, guys? I want to clarify something. We're not talking about anti-aging. We are talking about reverse aging.
Yes.
Today. So that's completely a different animal, because when you talk about reverse aging, you're actually literally talking about becoming a younger version of yourself.
Yeah. We haven't gotten there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Even right now, the telomerase activation that you get from the astragalus route, that slows down the aging, and it may lengthen telomeres, but the aging process still goes on. I'm still getting older even though I've been taking this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in the future, there are people alive today that'll be able to choose how long they want to live. They'll be able to, if they want to go 1,000 years, I believe that they'll be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That the processes are in place to learn that stuff.
Wow. I'm certain that there's going to come a time when we will be able to access that kind of technology.
Yeah.
I've always thought that would be something that the powers that be would keep from the average Joe.
Yeah, they might. But listen to Elon Musk and some of these other leaders that are saying, "Oh, we've got a demographic crisis."
Mm-hmm.
Now, that ties into the book that I wrote. Part of the economic crisis they're faced with is really a money crisis. They want young people so that they can work to earn money, so that they can keep the old people with money.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a stupid. It's all stupid. But there's a lot of them that think that this demographic crisis, in one sense, the demographic crisis doesn't rely just on money. That is, you have to have workers, and to produce the things. Now, as we get AI and things that we're able to produce more and more and more with fewer people. that becomes less of an issue. But you've got Elon Musk and some of these people are saying, we need to breed. You know, we need to get more people.
Mm-hmm.
And so if, depending on whether they solve our money crisis first or whether they solve the anti-aging, they may want to keep these workers, you know, hey, you got an 80-year-old here, we can turn him back into a 20-year-old and
we get another 50 years of work out of him.
Another 50 years of work out of him, yeah. So they may take it, they may not rely on just themselves, they might not distribute this only to themselves. Plus, the chemical cocktail that Dr. Sinclair is working on, you can go out to the literature and find it.
Wow.
And so these have components in them. Now he hasn't tried it. He's not ready to try it on humans, but he is working on this chemical cocktail. And if he keeps on publishing his works like he has been, these are items that anybody can access. They're special chemicals. I mean, you'd have to get them from a pharmaceutical company that's producing these chemicals, but
wow.
But you'd know what they are, and maybe presumably have access to those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, if you're just joining us, you are watching KUHS The Stream, and this is the Weekend Boost. I'm your host, Paul Lane, and we are talking to my guest, Mr. Ralph Pullman. And we are talking about a very interesting topic today, and that's reverse aging. If you have a notebook, you should go get it, because we're going to be talking about some really, really interesting information here from here on in. So the second half of the show, I think, is where we're going to really ramp it up, and we're going to talk about the real fun part about aging and anti-aging and how how it affects you and what you can do about it.
Yeah.
In preparation for this week's show, I've done a few things that I mentioned earlier. I had an experience with psilocybin this week, and I did that basically because I was guiding somebody as one of my clients, but I was also doing that because I was wanting to really talk to my body. I wanted, because I don't use psilocybin as a drug. I use it as a medicine, and I don't see it as a drug. I truly don't. And when I had my experience, I came out of it with the feeling of refresh. I felt refreshed. I felt energized. I felt optimistic. I mean, there's so many things that have been affecting me and really pulling down my spirit, with what's going on in our economy and our government and our country. I was overwhelmed. I was at a point where I was just ready to snap. And after I was finished, I sat back and I relaxed, and I woke up the next morning and I felt great. And I felt really optimistic about things, even in spite of as bad as they are.
Well, psilocybin turns the brain more plastic.
Yes.
It allows you more resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I've been trying to learn Spanish for years and years, and I keep threatening I'm going to get some psilocybin and try and learn Spanish, where hopefully it'll turn my brain plastic enough to absorb all this.
Oh yeah. Get the book Super Learning.
Okay.
That's an old book, and it was this people in Sofia, Bulgaria came up with a system where they played Baroque music with a 4/4 beat, and they gave information. Art Linkletter, you remember Art Linkletter?
Yep.
He learned Chinese in 5 days. He learned conversational Chinese in 5 days using this method.
Wow.
So in the beginning of the book, they say people could go, you and I could literally go into a room and look at the dots on the ceiling, and you could count them in a second, because the mind is so powerful. We use so little of our mind. And I don't want to get off track on that, but that's another class. That's another show. But yeah, that's a great book, Super Learning. When we talk about anti-aging, one thing that I really thought was really of note was Tai Chi. Tai Chi is a Chinese, some people call it an imaginary battle, but Tai Chi is exercise, it's thousands of years old, that is documented to make you live longer. And so I've done Tai Chi a couple of days this week, and I had a pretty good experience. You mentioned earlier about neck mobility. After my first experience with Tai Chi, and I only did a 36-minute workout, I was able to turn my head all the way and touch my chin to my shoulder. I haven't been able to do that in many years.
Wow.
I can turn my head the other way. When I come to an intersection, I typically have to turn my whole shoulder. After that experience, I was able to turn and look out to my left. I was amazed. So that was, that was one thing I wanted to throw out there. Go ahead.
Yep. Well, I was gonna.
Oh yes, please.
Talk to you about the astragalus root. What TA Sciences found was that they needed to refine this. Now, some of the products that you have the astragalus root in it
As a component.
Mm-hmm. But I took one for about 3 years, thinking I could substitute a cheaper product,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out that it just wasn't sufficient. I found that wound healing slowed down, and which came back after I started taking back the isolate. They extract cycloestrogenol,
Mm-hmm.
and so here's there's the product, cycloestrogenol. Now there's some other components that they get out of that, but cycloestrogenol is the one that TA Sciences extracted, that found that it activated telomerase.
Now, can anybody buy this product?
Yep. Yeah, I buy that online.
Okay.
When I first got it, you had to have a prescription. When I first got it, TA Sciences required you to take a $10,000 test to see what your telomere size was, and every year you had to take this $10,000 test, and then the product itself cost about $10,000 a year. And so I had heard about this back a couple of years before I started taking it, and it required a doctor's prescription and this test. And so a couple of years later, I found a doctor, Dr. Ed Park, who would prescribe it and sell it. Cost $600 a month.
Wow.
And I could, it came in, full dose was 2 pills. So I paid $300 a month and took a half dose.
Mm-hmm.
And the effects that I noticed were on that half dose. TA Sciences now recommends a 10 milligram dose instead of the 40 that they had originally thought. So
you were right on track.
So I was, it may not take as much as what I was taking, but I now take a different brand, and I take 2 of these a day. But I found that I don't notice any difference between 2 a day and 1 a day, and each one of these is 25 milligrams.
Okay.
So I think a 25 milligram dose is sufficient.
One of the things that you mentioned, a product that I have that has astragalus root. This actually has 44 components of roots, but it doesn't have the seed. It doesn't have. It has components as well, molecular components. So when they talk about this, they say that this is actually delivered in a frequency form, and so I don't know what that means, but I will tell you this: they have a product called iRevive. I bought some of this, $100 for this little thing.
Wow.
I was up camping here for Memorial Day weekend, and I touched a hot burner. I mean, my thumb, or my left thumb was burnt from my tip of my thumb down to my palm, and I mean, I was gonna blister. I could feel it. I took this out and I rubbed it on there, and within 30 seconds, the pain was gone. I could see the dryness of the skin, you could see the burnt skin. And within 30 minutes, it was pliable and soft like there was no burn.
Wow.
30 minutes, I saw this with my own eyes. I've seen testimonial calls where people have had cuts to the bone, and within 2 weeks, there's not even hardly a scar. Wow. So I'm really impressive with the wound healing component of this. So I just wanted to throw that out there. These things are not cheap. I mean, when you go out and start researching, you'll see that these products are not cheap. I mean, one of these vials is $79 I take one a month. My wife takes one a month. We're both in our, let me see, 12, 18 months we've been taking these. Last August, I went and took a physical, and I couldn't find my results, but every single component, there was not one area where I was above or below where I needed to be. And that was impressive because 6 months before that, I had a physical and I was pre-diabetic. My triglycerides were high, my HDL was high, my PSA was high.
Yep.
And after taking 9 months of that, and I can only give that credit because I do take supplements, but
You didn't change the supplements. You just
everything was the same. That was the only addition.
That was the only addition.
And my HDL, my triglycerides, my A1C, my LDL, my prostate, my PSA, every one of them was right on the money.
Yeah.
And so I was really pleased with that.
Well, even with the taking this telomerase activator, I still have issues. I still have I have to take heart medication, and it's not a cure-all.
Right.
And so I should caution all the listeners that
this is not the.
I'm not a medical professional.
Yep.
And anything that you guys want to try, from what we've talked about, do your own research.
Yes.
And if you have trouble understanding technical articles, use AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're so.
They'll simplify it for you.
You can give an AI a link to an article, and then ask it questions. And I mean, you can start asking detailed questions. You can ask it for, can you verify this? Can you do research?
Give me the origin of it, or whatever you.
Yeah, you can. And those AIs are so good.
Mm-hmm.
I really, part of reading Dr. Sinclair's stuff, I didn't understand all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so back then I had to put it in chunks, because I couldn't link it. Didn't have access to the internet when I was doing this, and so I chunk it in, and then I'd ask questions.
Wow.
But now you can just give it the link and start asking it questions.
Wow. Yeah, that's a fascinating topic of AI, because we know that the AI can do like quintillion calculations a second now. Why haven't we used AI to, one, cure cancer, and to reverse our aging just through the AI technologies?
You have to understand how AI works. Most of what we see are just what they call large language models. All they do is they predict the next word in a sentence. And so they sound like they have understanding, but they don't. They just predict the next word in a sentence. And so for them to have reasoning and to solve these problems, they don't have that kind of an imagination. They don't. They can use them to generate images. They have some AIs that are specialized in folding proteins. They have some that are specialized in generating images. Each one of them has specialty, but they can't combine. The human mind is so powerful. It's such a useful tool that it's going to. They're talking about trying to create what they call a generalized AI, general intelligence.
Wow.
AI, but I don't know. So years ago, I read a book called How We Decide by Jonah Lehrer, and it was amazing how back in my psych courses I learned about how we have somewhere between 5 and 7 slots in our mind, and we can keep those 7 slots filled with different concepts. So we have a concept here, concept here, concept here, concept here, and so then we can logically compare those different concepts, and so we can make decisions if there's no more than 5 to 9 components, you can make rational decisions about those.
Mm.
But when you have something like, say, you're trying to buy a new house or trying to buy a car, you're considering far more than 5 to 9 components.
Certainly.
And so, in order to make adequate decisions about that, you're relying on emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And because the emotional capacity that you have, what you're doing with emotions is you're comparing a lot of different things.
Mm.
And so, anyway,
So the AI doesn't have that capacity.
It doesn't have that capacity.
So there's things missing, or there's
It,
shortcomings. It has its shortcomings.
it has its shortcomings, and so you now I've actually done some programming in AI, so I understand the nodes and the parameters that connect the different nodes. So if you have a language model, you have a node that corresponds to a word, and you have some link that offers some strength between that and another word.
Mm.
And so that's what gets adjusted as it's doing its training.
Mm.
And so now if you're doing images, you've got pixels that are colors, those kinds of things that are all connected. Somehow you need to have that consolidated into a concept, and I don't know really how to do that.
Mm.
I don't know how they would do that. But that's what we need. But that's a side issue to what we've been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are some of the things that I wanted to put this out there too, guys. This is a book that I've recommended on the show before. This is a book that is absolutely related to anti-aging and reverse aging. Dr. Joe Dispenza was a triathlon, and he was hit by a car. And I believe he broke his neck and he broke his back. He had like more than 6 breaks in his back and his neck. And they said he'd never walk again. And Dr. Joe Dispenza understood how to access his body's energy fields, or what they call chakras. And he was able, using the techniques that he uses in this book, to completely heal neurological damage that was irreversible. And within 6 months, he came out of the hospital. Within 1 year, he was back in triathlons racing again. This book is a game changer. I guarantee you, everything we're talking about today, it's not encompassed in this book, but it's relevant to what you will learn and what you will gain access to by reading this book, Becoming Supernatural. So I wanted to make sure and run that by you before we leave, because this book is powerful, it's effective, and it's addicting. You can't put it down. It's a great book.
I'll have to check that out. I'm naturally a skeptic.
Uh-huh.
And so I do research. You were talking to me about terahertz waves. So
Yes.
I've got you a little paper here on the research that I did on terahertz
So
waves.
that's a good segue. Terahertz is another one that I personally believe, and I've used. And last October I was with a 72-year-old hip replacement patient, and I spent 3 days with her. And every time I used this blower on her, her pain disappeared. Her pain disappeared, and I'm talking about fresh after hip surgery. And so I can only tell you what I see. But this is not the brand that I had mentioned for my TerraCare. I got this from Alibaba. This typically is $3,500 through the company TerraCare. I got this for $500. But I've seen amazing people with some amazing results. I've seen a 74-year-old man who couldn't open his hand, or he couldn't make a fist. Within 2 minutes, he was making a fist. 2 weeks later, he was still able to make a fist. But then again, I've seen people who, another 74-year-old, one of my neighbors, who had spinal stenosis, who had no results from this at all. So it's really there's a lot of variables, I guess, but I'm interested to do more research on that. But terahertz is another option.
Yeah, again, your listeners should use caution, because a lot of it depends on power levels, whether it's pulsed, whether it's This is heated as well?
It's heated, yes.
Okay. One of the things that they talk about is, one of the advantages of terahertz is that it's non-heating.
Mm-hmm.
And so now when you add heat to it, I don't know, that was one of the questions I wanted to.
Oh, so and I have an answer for that.
Okay.
Actually, when I first started using this, I was watching a lot of testimonial calls on Zoom calls. And the reason that they do put heat in this, because that they've documented that when you can heat up the bones, that it releases stem cells. One of the interesting things that they claimed is, by the way, in 2018, this was named one of the top 10 inventions to change the world. Of course, the AMA won't recognize it, and the skeptics will come out when you start bringing it to the United States, because they don't want anything that works. They don't want anything that can't be sold by prescription. And so I would say that any information that I got from the AMA, from American researchers, would be very biased, and that's my opinion.
Well, I always take what they say with a grain of salt. I mean, they have their own motivations for doing the research, for disseminating the research, but the peer-reviewed process, I'm a firm believer in the peer review process. If somebody publishes it, there's somebody else who's going to make their name if they can disprove
contradict.
And so the peer review process, I think, is an important part of doing this. And so I'm the research that I've included in this paper seem to be from reputable sources, and they say that there's a lot of potential to it. You in the field, I mean, you have experiences that these doctors have to group together into large clients. So now you're including the guy who can't make any changes, and the guy who can, and so they kind of have to average those out in order to write their papers. And so there may be factors that some people have, other people haven't. This cycloestrogenol, I've recommended that to a number of people, and some have tried it and they see no difference whatsoever. But for me, it was drastically life-changing.
And for me, exactly, with the terahertz, I was approved for a knee replacement 5 years ago in February. 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm walking without a cane now.
Yeah.
I use this and infrared.
Okay.
And I mean, I have my pain, but nothing like I used to. And I mean, like I say, I take my supplements and I take my iHercules, but I'm walking around. I can walk around Costco without a problem, and so I saw definite and positive results. And so for me, I was a believer,
Yeah. Well, like I say, there's different people have different metabolisms,
experiences, and tolerances.
And people who try different things, if it's causing you pain, if it's causing you damage, stop.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. But pay attention. Pay attention, because sometimes the effects are slight. With me, I mean, my hearing. I used to listen to the TV at a level 12. I started taking this stuff and I turned the volume down to a 7.
Wow.
So for me, that was.
How long did that take for that to?
That was a lot longer period of time. I only noticed it after after months. I'm going, hey, I'm listening to this thing. I used to listen to this at 12.
So it could be gradual.
It could be gradual.
Wow.
But it seems to be dependent on the stem cells. For example, I used to have just a little fringe of hair around my ear, just barely above my ears. I think the stem cells are allowing the hair to gradually, very slowly move their way up. but there aren't enough stem cells to just keep the process going. So I mean, I'm still I'm still shiny on top. But it actually, it used to be like a bowling ball. I mean, shiny with nothing on there.
Wow.
Now
And so there's some.
There are some hairs on the top of my head, but there just isn't enough stem cells, I think, to keep that process going.
Interesting. Interesting.
And you know, and along with taking this, I brought you.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the products that you brought over here.
All right. One of the things that I take along with this is quercetin. I don't know.
Yeah, you hold it up right there.
All right. So, what quercetin is something that will kill senescent cells.
Really?
And so it's not as strong as some of the the anti-cancer drugs that you take, but it does some of the same things. Senescent cells are the ones that I worry the most about for getting cancer, because cancer cells have telomerase activated in them. And so when you start talking about telomerase activation, one of the things TA Sciences was quite concerned about was, is this going to increase cancer? And their research seems to point out that it doesn't seem to happen in humans. It did in mice. They did have a slight increase in cancers in mice, but it doesn't seem to have happened in humans. But I take quercetin to make sure that any senescent cells are reduced. Try and eliminate as many of those senescent cells as I can, and hopefully the telomerase activation will replace those senescent cells with something else. Now the bromelain is something that what was the, I'm trying to think of, bromelain helped with the quercetin. It's an anti-cancer. It also affects cancerous cells, and so I get it together with those. Again, people that are, if they're on anti-cancer medication, this might overwhelm the system. You always, you should do the research.
Yes, guys, by the way, I want to make this disclaimer. Nothing we say here today is to treat, to cure, or to diagnose. This is only for entertainment purposes, so please take everything we say with a grain. We don't want to get in any trouble with the AMA, and we like to say, we're not here to treat, cure, or diagnose anything. All we can say is what we've experienced from ourselves.
And do your own research. I mean,
yes,
the internet is such a magnificent tool.
Yes, endless supply of information.
Okay, I take a statin drug, and so one of the things that statins do is they interfere with your production of CoQ10. And so I take a CoQ10.
I started taking that recently too.
Because of the statins. Any of you, vitamin D3 is a good
very good supplement
to take. There's a lot of people that need more of it. But if you take D3, one of the side effects of D3 is that your blood vessels get stiffer, less resilient. If you take it with K2, K2 will counteract that.
Really?
And so I take a supplement that it combines the two.
Oh, very cool.
And of course, you never get enough vitamins just from your food. So you may pee out a lot of the vitamins that you're taking, but
the doctors tell you that you're really peeing out the vitamins, but the truth of the matter is you pee out what you don't need.
What you don't need. That's
and if you look statistically, Americans, doctors die faster than the average American. So the life expectancy of a medical doctor in America is lower than yours. So just take that with a grain too.
And then fish oil. We get enough omega 6s.
Mhm.
I just want to supplement the omega 3s,
Mhm.
and so I take fish oil. I have some eye issues. I played racquetball years ago and had some eye damage,
Mhm.
and I had a detached retina,
Oh boy.
and so I've had some eye issues, and I've noticed that some of those seem to be systemic, and so I found that taking some special, uh, I have some special pills that I pay attention to that, and I had taken some different ones and they weren't working. This stuff works, and so just by paying attention, testing,
Mhm.
close an eye, and
Mhm.
look in the dark, see what's happening,
Yeah.
and so I can notice the differences by the supplements that I'm taking, and once I find something that works, then I stick with it.
Mhm. You know, I've been taking mushrooms, functional mushrooms, not magic mushrooms.
Lion's mane.
But I take lion's mane. I take an 8 mushroom blend coffee,
Okay.
and I take ashwagandha. Well, that's the little gummies that we just got. Some ashwagandha, and then I take a second lion's mane supplement. And I have noticed my cognitive function has improved. I noticed a difference with
Good.
it. I've noticed my sleep patterns have been, well, these past couple of weeks have been really, I don't know if it's the stars or what, but I've been having rough sleep. But normally my sleep's really good. Overall, I work circles around all my 30-year-old neighbors. I mean, they watch and they're like, what's this old guy on?
Well, I work with a whole bunch of old people at work. I drive cars for Avis, and so we're getting into a van, and I get into the back. I can crawl around the seats. And,
Yeah.
and there's people that are a couple of decades younger than me working that can't do that.
Oh yeah. My daughter called me up the other day and she says, Dad, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I go, what? She goes, man, you're always active. Every time I call you, you're shoveling dirt out of, because I went and got 10 trailer loads of dirt for my backyard, and I'm making an elevated platform for a patio that I'm building. And she says, don't you get tired? I go, yeah, of course I get tired, but go get another shovel, get another load. And of course, I spent many years in the construction industry, so I have a lot of them functional muscles that are still active. But
Well, exercise is another way to activate telomerase.
yes, exercise.
Exercise, fasting, exposure to cold, anything that stresses the body.
Oh my goodness.
Seems to activate telomerase.
So it's so interesting you mentioned that, because for the last month, it's been about 5 weeks now. Every day I take the shower. Every time I take a shower, when I'm done, I turn it to pure cold, and I count to 30. And I go 15 seconds front, 15 seconds back. No, I mean, I count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. So this morning when I was doing this, I had today's, show in mind. And so I was really trying to be aware of how I felt, and how I got chills, and how that cold it got me, and when I got out of that shower, I felt like I got a kick in the rear, man. I cannot explain it. I felt wonderful, and every time I do that, that also activates your vagus nerves too, by the way.
Okay.
I feel so invigorated. I feel so much better, and I said, I'm going to do this forever, man. I love it.
I'll have to try that. I haven't tried that aspect of it.
I used to do it, 3 seconds, and that's enough, and I read this. I'm reading a book on the vagus nerve activation, and it said 30 seconds, and so I've made it a point, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to discipline myself, and I'm going to do it every time. And I am telling you guys, try it. You will not believe what an improvement. I mean,
I'll have to try that. I haven't done that.
it's wonderful. It's shocking, but
I don't particularly like cold, even though I worked for many years up in Greenland and Alaska.
Oh.
And but I'm not a real fan of cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife and I, we have a hot tub, and my wife fell down last week, and she was really hurting. I've been using a lot of my infrared, and a lot of my blower on her, and I have a lot of pain creams that I've collected over the years. And night before last, she was still feeling some pain, and we got in the hot tub, and I mean, 30 minutes, and we got out of there, and course, we go lay on the grass when we're done, you know, we
Yep,
just
yep,
go lay
yep.
on the cold grass. And she got up yesterday morning and she had no pain in her back at all.
Good.
And so, I mean, there's so many things that you can do to make yourself feel better. And you know, if you feel better, you're gonna age better.
Yep. Pay attention to your body. Your body's gonna
Yes.
tell you. Your body's gonna tell you when something works or not.
Yes, yes. Guys, you know I'm a big proponent of vibration and frequency. These two forks, a 528 and a 432, are unbelievably powerful. They're medical grade. I mean, they'll use these in medical offices. And the tone, I'm sure you can hear that. That tone radiates and it passes through your skin right to your bones. And this is the DNA one, the 432, or the big one, 432, and the 528. They just call this the love frequency. But both of these, they claim, help build the DNA in your body. So
I'm the skeptic. I'd have to see the research on that.
well, you know, Tesla said that the future of medicine is going to be all frequency and vibration. Einstein said all medicine will be frequency in the future.
Yeah, the Star Trek.
Absolutely, I'm a believer. I have a Rife machine at home. Royal Rife in the 1930s discovered that you could sing a musical note and break a glass.
Yeah.
And he took that and he said, what does this mean? He said, that vibration was perfectly matched to that glass and it was able to shatter it. What if I were to do that to, say, a cancer cell? And so he took it into his lab, he put a vibration or a frequency, and he varied it until he got a frequency that shattered that cancer cell.
Well, that's one of the things that I saw in the terahertz research that I was doing. That cancer cells have a different structure than
the standard
than
cell.
The standard cells,
Mhm.
and so they're hoping that they can use some of this terahertz, these terahertz waves to distinguish between the two and kill one and not the other.
I'm going to tell this quick story and then we got to go. We're out of time. When I first got my terahertz machine, my friend was just diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Now, again, this is not to treat, cure, or diagnose. I went to Silver City, New Mexico for 7 days. I treated him 3 times a day. I didn't treat him. I used the blower on him 3 times a day from head to toe. 7 days later, he came back to Denver and he had a surgery. They found 1 tumor in him, in his liver. There was nothing in his kidneys. There was nothing in his colon. There was nothing in his lymphatic system. Not 1 tumor.
Wow.
I heard this from the doctor's mouth. Now, I can't say it was a coincidence, I can't say it was a miracle, but I can tell you this. I saw with my own eyes and I heard it with my own ears. And so the skeptics, I have to tell you that there's some more to this than meets the eye.
Well, I you know, like I say, you guys that are out dealing with people, you might have more insight than somebody who's doing
In a laboratory.
in a laboratory
Yeah.
where they're doing lots of different people.
Yes, yes, and so I think a lot of it is subjective. I think that again, all information is biased, and so take everything we've said with a grain today, guys. Guys, I wish we could take another hour. I could go on with this, Ralph. I just love having you on the show today, Ralph. It's been such a great pleasure and an honor to have you. Guys, you've been watching the Weekend Boost on KUHS The Stream. Thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned. Mr. Paul Chavez, Mr. International himself, will be coming up and he will be giving you some great music for the afternoon. Stay tuned to KUHS Denver. I'm Paul Lane, and this is the Weekend Boost. See you next time. Hey, Paul.
What's happening?
Oh, man.
I thought I was at Avis for a minute.
Here.
Oh, well, that's for me. Oh, cool.
That's for you.
I'll definitely try that.